Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be showing you 5 different fall Dollar Tree DIYs for my first round of fall crafts. I have a bad habit of hauling so much craft stuff from the Dollar Tree, and if you guys watch my Dollar Tree hauls you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But I just really wanted to use up some of this craft stuff I've been hauling lately instead of it sitting in my craft closet for a year and collecting dust. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do, please click that little thumbs up button at the end of the video. And I'd also love to have you as a subscriber. If you're new, I'd love to have you here. All right, let's get into the DIYs. For the first DIY, I used this little wooden truck DIY decor piece and painted the body blue. I chose blue because as much as I love the little red truck, I just wanted to switch it up and do something different, so I painted it blue. I also painted the wood slats white, pumpkins orange, tires black, and then the rims gray. After I painted the truck, I took some brown paint and mixed it with some orange to create a rust-looking color. Then I just took a paper towel, wrapped it around my finger, and used that to distress the truck and add little rust spots. I just made sure that my paper towel wasn't soaked in the paint by dabbing off the excess and then just randomly adding it to the edges of like the wheel wells and roof, adding a big patch on the door. And I felt like it just made the piece not look so flat and added a little bit of depth, dimension, and charm. Next, I took this welcome fall decor piece that I thought I could use as a platform for the truck to sit on, and I painted it white, just over the words and images because I really love the brown and white gingham on the side and wanted to keep that. I used Waverly white chalk paint and it covered really well with just one coat. You of course could use regular white acrylic paint. If you don't have chalk paint, you would just need to do multiple coats. I really wanted to start using up these galvanized words that I got, I think, last year from the fall section. I'm pretty sure they have the same ones out this year. The words might be a little bit different, but I decided to take that same brown paint that I used as the rust color on the truck and just started dabbing around on the word to make it look like it had been rusted. I needed a way to hold the truck up, so I went through my craft stash and found these little wood craft cubes that I hauled a while back and thought they would be perfect as kind of like supports for the truck. Next, I just kind of put up my truck where I want it to sit, figure out where I want it to sit, and then use my pencil to mark behind the tires because that's where I'm going to be placing the blocks to hold up the truck because I don't want them to be seen. Then I just start stacking up those cubes with some hot glue, and I stack them 4 high just behind those marks that I made. And then all I do is add the hot glue vertically to those wooden block towers that I made and then attach it to the truck. Next, I just took that galvanized word, flipped it over, added some hot glue, and then attached it to the wooden plaque. The final touch for this DIY was to add these little pumpkin wooden stickers that I hauled last year from the Dollar Tree. Again, I'm just trying to use up as much stuff as I can from my craft storage. So I decided to use these to add a little pop of orange, so I painted them orange and then hot glued them on each side of Harvest. I love how this DIY turned out. I think it's so cute and a nice break from the little red truck. I put it in our kitchen. And you can't even see the back, which is awesome. You can't see where I glued those little blocks. And I just paired it with a pumpkin spice candle and some Dollar Tree ceramic pumpkins. This next DIY is so simple, quick, and easy to do, and these little book stacks have become really popular in the past couple of years, especially with farmhouse decor, and they're so easy and inexpensive to make. You just need 3 books. Try to get the same size. If you already have some at home, you can use those. I purchased 3 copies of this book from Dollar Tree, and so all you're going to do is take off the cover, flip it over, and then fold in the outside flaps and then recover your book.
Like a bird on a tree.
Next, I just printed off 3 words. I chose autumn, harvest, and gather. You can use any words that you want, pumpkin, spice, everything. Have them match. You can do names of your family members. The font I used is called The Skinny, and it is from defont.com, and I downloaded it. It is free for personal use, but that is the name of the font. So all I do is just cut out the words as close as possible, try not to have too much paper, and then I just use a Jot glue stick from Dollar Tree and then glue them on the left-hand side of the spine. And just a quick note, make sure that your ink, after you print out your words, are completely dry before trying to glue these on. That's why autumn looks so jacked up, because it wasn't dry and I smeared the ink on the spine. And the last part of this easy DIY is just to add some ribbon. You can choose any combinations you want. I chose this green ribbon from the fall section of Dollar Tree, and then this buffalo check, because I'm obsessed with buffalo check, especially black and white. And so I just take the bottom book and attach the wider ribbon with some double-sided tape. This double-sided tape is not from Dollar Tree, although I think they have some. I like to buy my double-sided tape from Amazon. I get like a variety pack. I'll try to link it down below for you guys. It's pretty inexpensive, and it's really good. But I just attach the ribbon to the bottom and then just start wrapping around to the top of the book stack.
The world seems small. We can sit together. It's so beautiful. You and me.
I added another strip of the double-sided tape to the top. You don't have to do this. If you don't want, just make sure it's as tight as possible, or if you're using something like twine, you can probably just tie it. But I just chose to add another strip of double-sided tape on the top, on the sides, and then on the bottom again, just for the thicker, or I guess wider ribbon. Then for the gingham ribbon, I just decided to put the double-sided tape on the bottom because it was a little bit wider than the ribbon and I didn't want that to show. So I just made it tight as possible, trying to hold these stacks together while turning it, and then just taped it off on the bottom. That's it for this really easy DIY. I just added a little porcelain owl and pumpkin from Dollar Tree on top with a little stem, and I love this because you can use it throughout the seasons. Just change up the words and ribbons, and you can reuse these books over and over again. For the next DIY, I'm using 2 cutting boards and then 3 of these home decor pieces, and I go ahead and pop off one of the white frames because that is going to be on the bottom and I want it to lay flat. And then for the other 2, I'm going to be covering up that part that says kitchens are made for families together. So I just take out my ruler and I measure how wide and long that little part in the middle is, because I'm just going to take some scrapbooking paper and cover that up. I think it's much easier than painting and trying to get straight lines. So I just cut out some black cardstock. If you have amazing hand lettering skills, definitely try that out. But I decided to use these Chalk-It die cut stickers that I picked up from Dollar Tree. I thought they would look perfect on this DIY. Then I just used my ruler as kind of a guide to keep the letters as straight as possible, and I spelled out Flower Market. I think I started to spell out Flower Farm, and then I decided that didn't look good. So I just chose to do Flower Market, and then using a Dollar Tree chalk pen, I just wrote "You Pick" on one side, and then $5 for a bunch of flowers. I just thought it kind of gave it like that side of the road like sign quality that you would see like if you were to come across like a fruit stand or a I guess little side of the road market. That's kind of like the look I was going for. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but I went ahead and did that, and then I just glued it on directly on to the decor piece.
Around you, from a distance you can tell.
For the other side, I decided I didn't want to leave it blank, but I didn't have the patience to line up a bunch of stickers, so I just hand wrote "You Pick Sunflowers" on the other side, just in case I wanted to kind of flip it around every once in a while and display something different. But you could definitely just leave the other side blank if you want to. For the cutting boards, I painted them in this Craftwise chalkboard paint from the Dollar Tree. I ran out of black chalk paint, but this is different. It is chalkboard paint. And I suggest actually spray painting these or using something else, because this chalkboard paint, even after it was dry, just the slightest touch would take the paint off. So I would definitely recommend using something other than this product right here. But I used it anyways. It just took a very long time to dry. I did both sides of each cutting board. And again, just the slightest touch would make the paint come off or peel off. So I highly recommend using something else. I even tried to seal it with like a craft sealing spray, and it still came up. For the handles, I decided to use up this Dollar Tree nautical rope in the brown color. It's just been sitting around in my craft stash, and I thought, why not just throw it on the handle, give it like a, I guess, farmhouse or rustic feel. And so right there, I'm talking about how I just touched that handle and the paint came off. So I just add some hot glue, run one end through the little hole, and then kind of press it down into that hot glue. And then no real method here. I'm just kind of twisting and wrapping that nautical rope around the handle, trying to cover up as much as possible, and then kind of working my way down. I did use one whole roll of that nautical rope. I just cut it in half beforehand. That way I could have the same amount on each handle.
You and me were meant to be in the great outdoors.
To assemble the flower box, you're going to take your bottom piece and run some hot glue around the bottom edge as fast as you can and a little bit up the sides, maybe like a ½ inch. And you want to do this super fast, because otherwise your glue is going to dry before you get your pieces glued together, and then you're going to have to start over, peel off the glue. That's why there was some glue left. But you want to do that as fast as possible, and then do that to both sides. And then just make sure after you glue your pieces together to try to just hold it in place and apply a little bit of pressure for about 15 to 20 seconds. To add the sides, I just took the cutting boards and added some hot glue on the edges. I just did the 2 edges. You could also do the bottom. I just did the 2 and just ran some hot glue up and down twice on each side, and then attached it to the side of the box. And the bows I did make off camera, you guys. I've said it before, I suck at making bows. I apologize. I just used my Easy Bow Maker and used some Dollar Tree wired buffalo check ribbon and just hot glued them to the top of the handles. I love how this DIY turned out. I just stuffed it with some sunflowers, and I was super happy to use up those frames that I bought months ago that I've been hoarding in my craft closet. It felt good to finally put them to use, and I just love how this turned out. This next DIY is what I like to call a Frankenstein project, because I'm actually using an old Dollar Tree DIY from Easter, and I'm repurposing and tearing it apart and making something new for fall. So I'm using this really cute wooden stake, and I just tear it off the stake. It comes off really easily. I love the little truck and then the arrow. And then here was my Dollar Tree project from Easter, and I was just having a really hard time storing this thing. It wouldn't fit in any of my totes, so I decided I'm just gonna go ahead and repurpose it. I like doing that. I don't like to throw things away unless I've tried to find an alternative use for it. So I go ahead and just take this off of the little gate that it was attached to, and I decided I really loved the buffalo check that was already hot glued to this. I didn't need to redo it, so I just took off the little bow that I made for the bunny, and I just decided to kind of roughly go over this with some chalk paint. Chalk paint easily covers very well, and so I thought I would make this DIY as easy as possible. It only took me about 5 minutes, so I love this project. I love repurposing, and again, trying to find new ways to use old crafts and DIYs. I really liked the whole 25 cents a pound on the arrow. I just didn't like the glitter, and I couldn't find my Dollar Tree sanding block, which is how I usually take off glitter. It comes off quite easily. You just take that sanding block and kind of do circular motions, and it takes the glitter off. So I just decided to flip it over and paint it black, and then use a chalk pen, and then just write 25 cents a pound. The chalk pen doesn't really work very well on this project for some reason, so I ended up going back and using a white paint pen. I took the same brush that I used to paint the arrow, and I didn't like re-dip the brush at all. I just used whatever was left on the brush, and I went around the edges of the truck. I just want it to look more distressed, aged, and kind of like it matched this piece, because I felt like it was too perfect. So I just did some distressing with that black paint, going around the edges, and then after that just using it and kind of like swiping it across the image around the pumpkins, trying to kind of follow along with the shapes, just to make it look a little aged and kind of beat up. And then I just hot glued the pieces down, and I even reused the little bow that I had made for the bunny and hot glued that down as well. And then I just used some Dollar Tree twine to run through the top and make a little piece to be able to hang it. And here's how my little Frankenstein project turned out. I think it's so cute, and it totally reminds me of something I would see in like a pumpkin patch gift shop. For the last easy DIY, I'm just using this cute little wooden pumpkin decor DIY piece, and I take off that raffia bow and I just start painting the base of the pumpkin in like this really pretty, like almost aqua blue color. I really wanted to start incorporating more non-traditional colors this year, like blues and greens into my decor. I just think it's so bright and fun. And so I'm just painting the base. So all of like the 3D pop-up pieces I'm leaving because I'm going to be painting those white. And it's okay if you get a little bit of paint on the pieces that you're not trying to paint, because we're actually going to go back and kind of blend some colors in. So I'm just painting that. And by the way, the Dollar Tree craft rolls are perfect for when you do your DIYs, especially if you're painting a lot, because you can just put the paint directly on to the paper and you're not going to ruin your surface. Then I take my Waverly white chalk paint, and I'm sorry if my hand is covering it up, you guys, I'm left-handed, but I'm taking my white Waverly chalk paint and painting those 3 pieces that are popping out. And then after I completely paint those, I take whatever is left on my brush. So I don't go back and dip it, but I take whatever white paint is left on my brush and then start kind of like dry brushing over the aqua blue parts, to kind of just like to blend it and add some dimension and shape. And then I just do the same thing with that blue color, just wipe off any excess paint if it's too much, because you don't want it to look too bright. You want it to look kind of like faded in. So I just kind of wipe off any excess paint back and forth on that paper. And that's pretty much it, you guys. After that, all I did was attach a bow again that I made off camera, and I reused the little raffia that I took off from this piece when I first started, and just added it on top of that buffalo check bow that I made. And then I added another galvanized word from that pack that I showed you guys in the previous DIY. And this is how it turned out. I think it's so simple and cute, and just a way to simply elevate something, not going too crazy. A really easy DIY beginner project for sure. But anyways, that's it for these DIYs. I hope you guys enjoyed them. Again, don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed them, and also I'd love to have you subscribed. If you aren't currently a subscriber, just click that little button and then you become a member of our little pod squad family that we have here on my channel. I love to do Dollar Tree hauls, as well as Dollar Tree home decor DIYs and many other things. So love to have you here. All right, guys, thanks again for watching. Have a great day. I'll see you guys in my next one.